Islam, a worldwide religion that stretches boundaries of many different cultures and many different nations. However, in our own country, Muslims, people who practice Islam, are a minority. Only 0.8% of the US population are Muslim, compared to 73% of the population who are Christians and 2.6% who are Jews. To get an idea of the cultural experience, we reached out to Muslims in our own community.
Most people would have you believe that Islam is new to America in the last 30 years or so. If anything is furthest from the truth, that is. There's documentation that as far back as 500 years, 600 years, 1,000 years ago, there's artifacts found with the Arabic inscription, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the middle of the country, like Arizona. So, I mean, whoever got there with this and dropped a coin out of their pocket was pretty good at walking from either the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean.
Looking into this, we found that Islam may have been introduced to America through, unfortunately, the slave trade. An estimated 30% of slaves brought from Africa were Muslim. While plantations suppressed the religion, it endured.
It wasn't until African Americans in the 50s started getting into Islam that you saw this huge explosion in the Islamic population in America. Yes, there are differences. We speak a different language. African Americans has always been known to be very good with language and slang and what have you. So the words in Arabic get changed up a little and get more familiarized, where you don't see that same familiarization in Arab-speaking countries where they were born and raised with the Arabic language. You don't see a lot of differences in the masjid because when we pray, we all pray the same way. There are no distinctions in that. So the subtle differences is what makes being an African American Muslim very exciting. It's not the overt differences because there really are no overt differences.
To get a sense of a broader cultural experience, we reached out to another Muslim in our community, a peer, Nashul Kahari.
So, my favorite part about my religion in America is that I have to say I can practice my own cultural traditions, and should I contrast because I experienced how it was like in Malaysia, where I'm from, and over here, I can tell you the differences, significant differences. So over here, there's a whole bunch of types of Muslims over here. When I say types, I mean culturally diverse. So you have Malaysians, that's a whole different type. You have a group of Africans, right, that practice Islam. But I really like the whole idea of all the different cultures coming together and celebrating this one religion, basically.
We returned to Idris in a second interview to ask how wide he feels the spectrum of subgroups is within Islam.
As Muslims, we don't see subgroups. We don't see distinctions. There are four jurists. There are four schools of thought in terms of law. But that's how to adjudicate law. That's not how to pray, responsibility to fast, your responsibility to give alms, a poor tax, your responsibility to safeguard your brother's property as if it was your own. Has nothing to do with any of those things. It's how to adjudicate matters of law, like divorces.
My experience, when I meet people who I don't know are Muslim yet, I just meet them. But when they say Assalamu alaikum, I know for a fact I could, give them the proper dab. Really, this is very synonymous with another hobby I like to do, skateboarding. Once you see someone else skateboarding, you know you're friends already.
Understanding that Western cultures aren't always on the best terms with Islamic culture, we asked if our subjects had ever faced prejudice for being Muslim, and we asked what they feel can be done to better the relationship between American culture and Islamic culture.
When it was 9/11, and a police officer who used to see me every week go up to a town in upstate Connecticut to go to my religious classes, he stopped me this particular time with my family, my wife and my daughter, put me in the back of his police car, and then began to search my wife and my son's bag. Opened up the trunk of the car and asked my wife, do we have any guns or bombs in it? But this is a man who I've spoken with for 5 years because I used to be traversing this path all the time. So if you're going to fight an enemy, You have to dehumanize your enemy. We did it in World War One. We did it in World War Two. We did it in Korea. We did it in Vietnam. You have to dehumanize your enemy. So you always see caricatures in World War Two of the Japanese as being wearing these thick glasses and slanted eyes and big buck teeth. Or you would have, and during Vietnam, you would have pictures of these guys running around with sandals on and eating rice out of leaves. You know what I mean? You have to dehumanize your enemy. And I think no similar consequence was that of the situation we have what we call Muslims terrorists. Like every Muslim's a terrorist, and there's no exception to that. So yes, what do we do about that? I remember about 10 years ago, a lot of Muslims were going to churches, synagogues, and talking to the people and developing relations, saying, we're just like you, we pay taxes here, we educate our children here. We're not into that. That's not what we're about.
For what I think can be done in order for relations between the Islam and American culture to coexist properly, is if America actually stood by their views, the land of the free.
What we have found is that Islam is a broad and culturally diverse religion, and although Muslims practice acceptance, Islam currently struggles with being accepted into Western society. We believe that acts of camaraderie between the West and Islam, which have more than a few common members, can bring about a better, stronger America.